After a seemingly infinite amount of time, I, as a Winnipeg Jets fan, can finally say that I am at peace with the Patrik Laine trade. Laine was the first big star here in Winnipeg, and he was a fantastic player, especially through the first 2 years of his career. I mean, who saw, a 36-goal season coming from a rookie? Who saw Laine competing for the Rocket at just, 19, 20 years old? It really felt like the city got their first star, right? That guy, they're like that cornerstone piece, the important part to winning a championship. And he was a big part of why the Jets were so good during that era. Obviously they had prime Mark Scheifele, prime Blake Wheeler, Dustin Byfuglien, list goes on, but Laine was a really impressive player early on in his career, and it really sucked when the Jets seemingly gave up on him right at the beginning of year 4 of his career. And I thought that it was stupid. I thought that it was dumb. I was sick to my stomach. I remember that day I was at work, and that's all I could think about all day long when Patrik Laine was traded to the Columbus Blue Jackets for Pierre-Luc Dubois. I was sick to my stomach for days because I felt like that this was something that could have easily been avoided. And I still feel that way, to be totally honest with you. I still think that Patrik Laine still could be a really great player here for the Winnipeg Jets if a few things were different. But alas, that's not the way it ended up. The reality is that he was gone, and in comes Pierre-Luc Dubois. And honestly, I was pretty gassed because Dubois and Scheifele down the middle as a 1-2, that's pretty gross. And right, Dubois was just one pick after Patrik Laine in that draft. He was still a very good player, already had some playoff success. So I was just thinking, okay, maybe Winnipeg did something really great here. But you know what? It didn't really work out for Winnipeg that way. He came in and he only had 20 points in 41 games, often found himself slipping down the lineup, and he just wasn't really the guy that the Jets thought that they were getting in return for Patrik Laine. And a lot of fans were a little bit concerned, right? Because we've seen Patrik Laine go on crazy goal-scoring streaks, everything else, putting up big goal totals, and now we traded for a guy that's just not really doing much. But in the following season, Dubois did bounce back. He played 81 games. He did have 60 points. He was good, but I don't think that he was a great player, and I think that, his production was very spotty. He picked and chose really when to show up and when to not, and it was a little bit concerning to see as a fan because, that's kind of what I was warned about from Columbus fans. This is a guy that, ultimately did quit on his team in Columbus. Is he starting to do that in Winnipeg? And that offseason, we got the news that, hey, he is actually going to be doing that. He is quitting on Winnipeg, and, he's not going to be signing there long term. Found that out during the intermission from Elliot Friedman, I believe, in a playoff game. I don't remember which one, but it was gut-wrenching because it felt like, wow, here we go again, right? The Jets have already lost Patrik Laine, who at the time was playing very well in Columbus, and now they have a guy that's underperforming, not really playing to the best of his abilities, and at some points, honestly, just looking lazy. And the following season, he would do pretty much the exact same thing. It was basically a carbon copy of what he did, just a season ago in the 22-23 season. He put up 63 points as opposed to 60 in 8 less games. And fine, he had a good year, but it really felt like he was coasting out there. Really felt like he had already planned that he was moving on, and ultimately that was the case. Wouldn't sign long-term in Winnipeg, and he was traded to not the Montreal Canadiens, which, many thought he was going to end up for a very small return, but Winnipeg ended up landing a big fish. And the big fish's name is Gabriel Vilardi. Among others, obviously, Alex Iafallo, Rasmus Kupari, and a second-round pick were included in that deal for Dubois, but Vilardi far and away the best player of the trade. Now look, at the time of the trade, it was viewed as, the Kings got the best player in the deal. He's going to go over there and, maybe be the Kopitar replacement at some point in his career when Kopitar ultimately hangs him up. And the Jets get Gabe Vilardi, who is a very good player, just had a breakout season with the Kings, but, injuries are kind of his downfall. And, that was a concern, obviously, when the trade was made, but the Jets go out and play him. He looks pretty good through 2 games, and at the start of the 3rd game of the season, in 23-24, he goes out and he gets hurt against his former team, the LA Kings, and he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. And as a Jet fan, that stung big time, as I was at that game. Pierre-Luc Dubois goes in, he scores a goal against the Jets, ultimately the game winner, I believe, and it was just not great. The Kings won, and it felt demoralizing. It really felt like, wow, we're even lower here. We went from Laine to Dubois to Vilardi, and now Vilardi's hurt, and it really wasn't a great feeling. But Gabe Vilardi came back, and did he ever come back with a vengeance? As in 17 games played to this point in the season for Winnipeg, he's got 15 points, and he has absolutely exploded. He's got 2-game winners. That guy has been so clutch for Winnipeg. He's been stepping up big time in the absence of Kyle Connor, and he's been one of the Jets' best forwards. And the most ironic part about this entire trade is that he's kind of what we thought we were getting in Pierre-Luc Dubois as Jets fans. We thought we were getting this really big, tough to play against center that finds space, makes space, and puts the puck in the net, goes to the dirty areas, does it all, right? We never really got that from Pierre-Luc Dubois, but wow, are we getting that from Gabe Vilardi as a fan base, and the fans love him. This is a guy that I genuinely believe wants to be here in Winnipeg. Maybe that'll come back to bite me in the ass one day, but he's an RFA right now. He's locked up for this year and next year. I don't see a world where the Jets don't try to, hand over the checkbook and sign this guy long term, because I truly think that he is one of the most important players on the team right now, and I think that he is a big reason why Winnipeg is, having such a great season this year. He's smart defensively, he's smart offensively, he does it all, and he is really, truly the player that we thought we were getting in return for Patrik Laine. It just took a little while to get him. And look, Patty obviously not at the caliber that he was playing at maybe, 18, 19, 20 years old. But, God, I still love that guy. And it really did hurt when the Jets traded him. It felt like we really gave up on him. Felt like we fumbled that entire situation. And it was gut-wrenching, and still was for a very long time. And it hurt that, we traded all those memories away for a guy that really didn't care. A guy that just was here to play hockey, but ultimately didn't see himself playing here long term. If Dubois wants to go somewhere else and play, that's totally fine, but just the way that it came across, just the way that he conducted himself on and off the ice, I found it extremely disrespectful to the franchise, to the fans, to everybody, and it didn't sit right well with me at all. And I'm happy that it's over, and I'm happy that we ended up getting a guy like Gabe Vilardi in the end, and I can truly say that I'm content with the trade now, as, Vilardi has come through, and maybe hasn't, had a Patrik Laine hat trick against the Leafs moment against Austin Matthews. Maybe he hasn't had the moment where he scored 5 goals against the St. Louis Blues. Maybe he hasn't scored, 3 hat tricks in 1 month. But what Gabe Vilardi has done for this city is he has brought the magic back to Winnipeg. The last, 4 or 5 seasons have been bleak, have been dark, and we've slowly seen the Jets sink into a team that's been very mediocre with questionable decisions in management, coaching, everything. But it really seems that right now the Jets are in maybe the best spot that they have ever been in, franchise history since being relocated. And Gabe Vilardi is a massive part of that. He's bringing the magic back to Winnipeg. He's going to be a great player here in the city. I think that this is a guy that they can lock up long term. And I just think that this is, what was supposed to happen in the end. And I'm just really happy that Gabe Vilardi is a Winnipeg Jet. I can't wait to see what he does in his future, in his career. I think that there's many great moments to be had here. And I'm just, I'm finally at peace with the Patrik Laine deal.